this route. And once again, my eyes saw the spot which I was not supposed to survive from. The very first gunshot attempt at us, where the Honorable Zake, myself, and a few others survived death. I thank God. And I was further reminded that we have a mission to accomplish. Friends, we did not survive for nothing. No, God was speaking to us through our survival. We are here for a reason. God kept us alive so that we can at least be able to accomplish something. So it is not a mistake that we are here. It is not fun that we are here. Welcome from hell, all of you comrades. We did it. We only have to accomplish it. Speaking to you, standing before you this afternoon, throws my mind back some 3 years or something ago, when myself and 10 other friends went to a similar 2 days retreat. For some 3 years ago, only about 3 months after the parliamentary election of 2017, where I had become member of parliament, we had a small study group of friends. We still call ourselves the Patriotic Friends, PAT. It was 11 of us. We decided to take a retreat, and for the first time, seriously and frankly, talk about the future of our country. It is 3 years ago. It was 11 of us. Among those 11 people with whom we took that retreat, and the most important thing that came out of that 2 days retreat, 2 days and 2 nights, was the word people power, our power. We didn't know where it would go, but at least it had been invented in that retreat.
Thank you very much.
My children, 1, 2, 1, 2. So, like I was saying with you comments, my mind went back. Among those 11 people, only 3 ran for office. 4 are the 4th among those 11 people. And among those 4 that ran, only one. Okay, I also was not announced. That was some 3 years ago. So coming to this retreat, this Lucifer, so much was running in my mind, looking back at the wins and the losses, the ups and downs. My late father used to talk about, to have beloved statement by Shakespeare. He would say, let us think, eat and celebrate for ourselves and the general happiness of the company and our friends abroad, but we are here. The friends abroad that Shakespeare meant were those that did make it to that particular moment. So once again, I tell you, comrades, that let us celebrate, let us stamp our chests, let us thank God for the few wins and overcomings that we've been able to register for us and our friends that did make it, but we are here. So now that we are here, not just 11 people, but many, you, the elected leaders, members of parliament, local government leaders, and leaders in different other levels. And also, knowing that thousands, in fact hundreds of thousands, as a matter of fact millions of Ugandans sharing the same mind, sharing the same thoughts, and walking in the same path, have adopted that is no mean feat. But we are here. It is my hope and prayer, before we start, ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope and prayer that we still have the same mind, that the same thoughts, the same aspirations, and same goals and desires. I want to welcome all of you to this retreat, ladies and gentlemen. It is at this level where we look back and count our wins and our losses. While we are here as the elected leaders, and more particularly those that were announced, as we are here, it is very, very important to know that for us to get here, we've had to go through thick and thin, and many of our friends did not make it to this moment. I want to suggest that we all stand up and observe a moment of silence for our friends that did not make it alive today. May their souls rest in eternal peace. I also want us to remind ourselves of what our eyes see and what our ears hear, not only in this room, but all over the country and beyond. We are dressed like this not because we want. We are dressed like this because many of our friends put themselves in harm's way, took the risk, and indeed are paying the price. Many, like I mentioned, did not make it alive. Many are nursing wounds, both physical and psychological, that were inflicted on them courtesy of this our struggle. And many of them are in prison. But we are here. Thank God that we are here. And again, it's my hope and prayer that we find it in our hearts to constantly see the need to represent those people that took it upon themselves to represent us in hell. They are there because the regime knows that by incarcerating them, maybe they're weakening them, maybe they're breaking their backs, maybe they're weakening us, or maybe they are drawing a wedge between us and those common people that stand for us, because those people that are in prison represent the masses. They represent the common people. They trusted us as their leaders. We are their leaders. They voted for us. And the majority of us, there was no rigging space. That is how we were able to be announced. We salute them. Friends, we are looking at the losses, at the people that died, at those that are in prison, but it's very important, even when you look at the wounds, to look at the wins. I was deliberate on giving you the background for you to know that it had started long before me. But again, that little collection of me and a few friends, less than a dozen, could spark an idea. I always listen to fellow artists. There's a man called Tupac. Tupac Shakur said, I'm not sure that I will change the world, but I can guarantee you that I will spark the brain that will change the world. That is what we must continue saying. It is not about we as individuals, but about what we spark in other people. Maybe the people that inspired me didn't know I would come to these heights. And maybe you might not be aware that the people that you are inspiring are actually going to become great assets to this country. So it is important that we count those blessings, that we celebrate the fact that we are here more than 100. Elected MPs, elected mayors, councillors, etc. We should celebrate the fact that we were able to massively awaken a nation, to awaken an entire generation. Just 3 years ago, young people didn't want to know what was going on in politics. Just 3 years ago, a huge amount of Ugandans, especially young people, were disconnected from how they are governed. They didn't know what happens in parliament. We are not interested. So we must celebrate the fact that we have awakened an entire generation. That we have connected generations, the young and the old. We have connected classes. We have connected genders.
we have connected the people of Uganda. Now the people of Uganda are no longer identified, or they no longer look at each other in terms of their tribes or their genders or their regions. They are connected by the pains and the hopes. The pains they're going through and the hopes that they envision for this, our country. And it's both good and bad news that we are the representation of those aspirations. We here, it is good news because it's such an honor, but it's bad news because it puts a big load on our shoulders, ladies and gentlemen. A very big load. While we celebrate for having one, I want you to know, comrades, that they gave us a big responsibility and we ran a big risk. Because to whom so much is given, so much is expected. And those are the expectations that the people of Uganda have in us today. So while we are here, ladies and gentlemen, thinking about those that cast on, thinking about those that are in prison, and of course agitating for more, it is important to identify what drives those our people and drives us. I'll tell you what drives me. What drives me is the fact that the entire nation believes in us. What drives me is the fact that the entire nation is experiencing what we are talking about. You do not have to be told, you do not have to be prepared as a leader to go and communicate. You only have to say what you go through every day or what your people go through every day. I am motivated by the fact that the people of Uganda have largely taken a lead, and we, the leaders, are only connecting with the people who we do not have to convince. I'm aware that so many of you did not have to use so much money as you had prepared your minds. All of us know politics is expensive because Museveni has monetized politics in this our country. But because the idea of people power that we were presenting to the people had already been naturally sold into them. So we largely didn't have to spend. As a matter of fact, the people who were asking votes from largely spent on us. So that gives us a debt. That makes us very accountable to those our people. I'm talking largely on this, ladies and gentlemen, because I want you to think. I want us to know who we are, at least in the face of the people. We are not the traditional politicians. No, they sent us into those offices, or they attempted to send us into those offices because they largely view us as liberators. When the people of Muwonge look at the one Nyeko Deri, they are looking at themselves going into parliament. They are looking at their own boy or their own that they sent to parliament. Many of you defeated very, very strong people. You defeated ministers with all the government machinery. You defeated the so-called untouchables. That was the representation of people power. But it did not end on that day that you were announced winner. As a matter of fact, it started on that day. That is the day the people in your constituency took over and then handed that power and responsibility to you. And that is why I say it is a heavy load on you. Luckily, it is a load that you can very, very comfortably carry because your people, according to what I see, are ready to carry that load with you. Especially if you stick by the aspirations. If you stick by what you preached during the campaigns. So ladies and gentlemen, what drives me is the faith that people are with us and the faith that you are going to stand by those values. Not because we sit here and your president tells you that stick to those values, but because I know that the people who voted for you are going to hold you accountable. These are already awakened people. I see it tempting us many times to try and fit into the honorable MP stature, in the mayor stature. I can see many of us are already fighting to fit in, which is natural and normal, but we are not living in normal times. And our people are not looking for a leader to fit into the image of an MP. No, that's not what they're looking for. So don't feel in such a rush to buy the most expensive car, to buy the best suit, to grow a big stomach. Don't feel in such a rush. It is important that people continue to see you for what they voted for. They might not tell you that. As a matter of fact, they might tell you that when it's already too late, when they are blaming you. And for people like my good friend Singwa, who already had his win, you might be in trouble. You know, that was the right moment. Don't take him very seriously. But he has wait time is questionable for the voters. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss quite a lot. But most importantly, to prepare our minds. One, for what is at stake, for what we are facing and what we are about to face in the coming days. First and foremost, where are we? We are in a country that is led by a brutal dictator who is very smart, who has mastered the art of being a benevolent dictator, who has mastered the art of running I'm looking for a word that explains a dictatorship that puts a semblance of democracy. I know that while we are here in this retreat, we are all expecting a raid from either the police or the military. Even when General Museveni is holding a retreat with these NRM MPs spending taxpayers' money. The people that are on our t-shirts are in prison. Many of them are being held and tortured, accused of wearing military uniform. But as we speak right now, Museveni's MPs, who are civilians, are putting on full military uniform in his full view. That's where we are. We are in an absolute dictatorship that is going to try as much as possible to sanitize itself, and sadly so, using some of us. Because that is an effort they are trying. Where we are today, sitting in a comfortable, air-conditioned room, but knowing that the people we represent are going through the worst. What is at stake if we don't win? If we don't win this struggle, it might take the people of Uganda back so many years. If we don't win this struggle, which Museveni is struggling so much to ensure that we fail, it will mean that there will only be trials and no success. If we don't win this struggle, it means constant death of our people. Forget the deaths in hospitals because there are no drugs. Forget the death of women giving birth. Forget the children that die in avoidable situations. I'm talking about the death, the state-sanctioned murders. On a daily, in your constituencies, people are being abducted, picked, tortured, women raped, etc., etc. So we must remind ourselves while we sit here to not be comfortable, to not think that it is, normal, it is formal. We are members of parliament, so we are treated as such. No, we are not being treated as such. And as a matter of fact, the people that we represent are being haunted, murdered, and that is not going to stop. I want us to have that state of mind. We are in a state of war. We are in a war, only that on our side, we choose non-violence. But the regime has its violence in full gear. I want us to be reminded of that. If we have that at the back of our mind and anchor all our thoughts and all our deliberations on that, we will be connected to our people. But if we think that now we are members of parliament that are only concerned with the legislation which is largely predetermined by Museveni and then sends his MPs to just rubber stamp it, we will be wrong. It is important that we are constantly reminded of the real facts that are ongoing. Some of us that read the Bible, there's this story of the children of Israel when they were coming from captivity. They were heading to Canaan, but there's a place that they reached before, and many of them relaxed. And yet Canaan was still ahead. Some of them actually died there. So please don't die along the way. Don't feel like you've arrived. We are not where we are supposed to be. I was speaking to one of the leaders, and he indeed was worried because he said the biggest problem to the struggle are those politicians that win positions. We have a duty to debunk that. We have a duty to be seen that indeed people entrusted us and we are pushing their struggle ahead. We must not relax. I will also remind you of some of the things that many people don't want to talk about, that there's an attack on everything and everyone, on every institution. Some of our Muslim friends were just mourning the death of their sheikhs, and we all know that their deaths are questionable. And then we, the Catholics, are also mourning deaths of our eminent religious leaders, and it's clear that their deaths are questionable. In the recent past, you've all been on social media, and you've seen what is ongoing. What you see is real. That is where we are as a country. And it's important for us not to relax, because the enemy, the oppressor, has not relaxed. Our people every now and then are motivated to know that, okay, now this time we have more members of parliament. Maybe our agitation will be more. Now we have more mayors, we have more leaders. Those comrades are fronts for the fight. They are not eating places. They are not relaxing places. In Uganda, bachita chiwejo ngawo modeta natuka temuwumula mikwano jange. There's no time to rest. And there's going to be every effort, those that are visible and those that are discreet, to ensure that you relax your mind, that you be at peace, that you fit in your new profile as a member of parliament, as a mayor, to be at peace, to start thinking of business, to start marrying a second wife. Do not be taken by that, comrades. That has been the undoing of most of the people that have been struggling against Museveni. There's going to be every effort, of course, to divert us and divide us, most importantly, as the best way to derail us. I want to briefly remind all of you that we started out as a people power movement, which was and is still owned by the people of Uganda, which is the rallying call, because that is what we represent today here. When we came up with the National Unity Platform, that we told our people that it is the political wing of people power. And indeed, the National Unity Platform is serving an idea, which idea is people power. We must ensure that people continue to see us as a representation of people power. To ensure that they don't see us as yet another political party that comes to fit in the political terrain and then proceed. We must constantly be answerable to those our people. We must constantly be a representation of people power. You are people power registered. You are people power elected. And your bosses are still the people of Uganda. It is extremely important to remember that and act that. And before I conclude, comrades, I want you to know that you are the face of that idea. You can make it, you can break it. You can motivate the people of Uganda, you can deflate them completely by what you do and what you don't do. That's the kind of responsibility that you are as members, that you have as members of parliament, that you have as mayors, as councillors, as leaders of this, our party, as leaders of this, our idea. Like I said, we promised to people that we'll be their servants and they will be our bosses. We promised a new Uganda. And even before we arrive there, they must see us working and representing that new Uganda with what we can. We have a certain extent of ability, at least. So people must see that new Uganda. Because as we move, we're moving to becoming government. The struggle is still ongoing, but at least you have a certain front. So what you do on that front is going to reflect so much on what the people do on the ground. Very importantly so. I'll also, comrades, remind all of you as elected leaders to live like those people who elected you. We have a population that is very, very easily detachable to the leader, especially if they see you changing from the person that you were. I'm not a perfect person, but at least I want to try as much as possible to give an example or a sample of an NUP leader, of a people power leader. Our people might be worried that now that you're there, like all politicians, speak very nicely before they are voted into office. And as soon as they are voted into office, they be choking out. So here we are. That's why I was telling you, comrades, you are in no rush to buy a new suit. You are in no rush to buy a new car. I would actually discourage those fancy and expensive cars. They don't only detach you from the struggles, the daily struggles of the people, but it even saves your money. You are in no rush to fit in. That is not what we represent. All of us were, bigging up President Magufuli when he discouraged luxurious. Not that he shouldn't live nice, but be a representation of what we would be if we were in office. What are we representing now? Because what you do now is what the people will see you would have done if you were a minister or if you are in government. It has to start with you, the individual. Then from you, the individual, it goes to us as a team. And from us as a team, it will trickle down to the nation. It's very important that we communicate that we continue to be the reflection of those our people. Don't fall in love with money. Don't, set your bar high. You will eat and get satisfied in your usual restaurant. But when you go to that kafunda, it is not just the eating. You might not know, but that's where you get most of your communication. That's where you connect with the people. That must not be lost. Of course, there's so much more that we'll discuss when the media is out of here. But it was important to let you know, comrades, that we must keep the hope alive. And that hope is represented by you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep the hope alive. The world is looking at us. People are watching us. They are looking at what we do and what we fail to do. And lastly, I will tell you that Museveni is targeting you. The reason why we took quite a while to metamorphosize into a political party is because Museveni has mastered the art of dealing with the political parties. They look out for the leader, they look out for somebody that holds office, or they look out for the most outspoken and compromise them. Of course, targeting either their greed or their fear. So be aware that you're being targeted. You're being followed by the dictators' compromising efforts, and you're being followed by the eyes of the people whose hopes are entirely on you. I am confident that you can overcome that. I am confident that we'll be back in yet another retreat where none of us has feared of. But again, I want to inform you of this so that you know. And as we communicate, I'm sure some of the more experienced comrades will update us on how General Museveni has been operating for the last 35 years. But all those challenges, comrades, are surmountable. We are here with people that have overcome those challenges and temptations. And yes, we know people that have failed to overcome those challenges and temptations, and we know how they ended up. Because at the end of the day, nobody can ever win the people. Nobody. Now, very finally, I want you to know that what we are up to is moral. We are not wrong to be into this. We've been able to overcome our challenges, not because of our power, not because we are too intelligent, but because even God is on the side of those that are suffering. So if we go against the values that God has elected, the values that God has protected by God, we will not only be betraying the people of Uganda, but we will be betraying God. But if we stick and hang it there, if we persevere, which I'm confident we will, friends, I can guarantee you that you will find many more people joining us and leaving the dictator because he has nothing more to promise them other than intimidate them. I was watching General Museveni telling members of parliament that he doesn't like how they deliberate. He doesn't want members of parliament standing up and raising points of order and points of information because he's used to ordering them, and that's why he dresses them in military uniform, as if they are going there to serve the military. We were deliberate to dress like this, to remind ourselves that these are the representation of suffering Ugandans who did not go in the comfortable workplaces that we've been elected to, but these are the people we are accountable to. These are the people to whom we owe our offices. These are the representations of the millions and millions of the people of Uganda who, if we continue representing, we shall really be the people power that we say we are. So with those few remarks, comrades, I welcome you and I want to wish you fruitful deliberations for God and my country.
Mr. President, thank you so much for reminding us that we're not living normal times. And therefore, we should not go into combat